What's happening, guys? We're back, and this weekend kind of got away from me. Alright, so long story short, I didn't make any progress on the car this week. I'm actually filming this on Monday because I spent the entire weekend working on my quad. I got some new wheel bearings in, so I got really excited about mounting the tires on the quad until I realized that all the tires leak air. So I had to do something about that. They were all leaking out of the bead. So in order to fix that, you got to rip the tires off the bead and clean up kind of the mounting surface. So I spent the entire weekend trying to dismount tires. It was extremely difficult because these are a 10-inch rim and quad tires just naturally have a really thick bead on there. So we actually had to go over to How's That Street Legal shop. He's got a tire machine. He was able to pop the beads for me, but because the wheels are so small, they wouldn't even fit on the actual turntable on his machine. So I spent 2 days on the floor with tire irons, ripping them off, kind of the old school method. But what we are gonna do today is I'm gonna clean a spot off on my bench here, because it's a disaster. And then I'm gonna show you guys what we do have for the fuel system. We are still waiting on some steel braided line to do the main runs in the tunnel. A buddy of mine called me and he said he's got some steel braided line that he's getting rid of. It's still in really good shape, so we're gonna repurpose that for our fuel system. So we're not gonna be able to run the lines until we get that, but I can show you what we have, and then next weekend we can mount the fuel pump, fuel filter, and at least do the suction lines. So give me a second to clean off the bench, and I'll show you what I got. All right, so here's our components. Number one, fuel pump. This is a Oasis 380 liter per minute pump. I probably only needed like a 255, but because I don't really trust these guys' flow charts, I figured we'd go a little bit bigger. This was also one of the cheapest fuel pumps I could get off Amazon. So we'll see, we'll plumb it in. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, maybe we'll spend some money later. But one of the problems with this is the inlet fitting is a -10 out of the box, which is just ridiculous. The fittings on the tank are only a -8. There should be no need for a -10 unless we were running like a really long fuel suction line. So I got a fancy little fitting here that will change us over to a -8 inlet. So we'll run -8 into the pump and we'll run -8 out of the pump. I also got a fuel filter. This is just a mesh cartridge style filter. Once again, super cheap, off Amazon, from overseas. This has got -8 in and -8 out. This is our pre-filter, so this one's gonna go before our fuel pump. We do still need to get a post filter that'll run after the pump. That'll be a tighter mesh. But I couldn't find one of those on Amazon, so I might actually have to spend some money off of Summit. So yeah, but we'll get that later. So we got the pre-filter, we got the pump. Those are both -8. So we got a bunch of -8 fittings and some -8 just rubber line. Running rubber line from the tank to the filter and from the filter to the pump won't be a problem because they're pretty well protected. We want some steel braided line to run from the post filter up through the tunnel and into the engine bay because there's going to be rocks and road debris and stuff. So this will work fine to get us most of the way though. For fittings, we just got basically the cheapest AN fittings I could find. They're all from a company called Evil Energy on Amazon. They appear to be good enough for what we need. These lines or these fittings are all the push lock socketless type. So just push them on, run a hose clamp. For the pressures we're running, they're probably gonna be fine. We'll probably run the proper ferrule style Aeroquip fittings from the pump up to the fuel rail because it's gonna be quite a bit higher pressure. but these will work for 90% of what we're gonna do. They'll probably work honestly for the high pressure stuff too. But that's what we got for the fuel feed side of things. For the fuel return, I also picked up a bunch of dash 6 line and dash 6 fittings. Same thing, socketless, push-on style fittings. So we got enough AN fittings here to hopefully plumb everything up, and enough line to do 90% of what we need to do. We are still waiting on a post filter. I gotta find one of those on Summit Racing or something and spend some money. So what we can do though is we need to mount these two, and I got a good place picked out on the car, so let's go take a look at that. All right, so the place that I found for these guys is in this little pocket here next to the fuel cell on the driver's side. We got about 6 inches by 6 inches by 12 inches. So we should be able to fit these guys in there no problem, and still have room for a post filter. We will have to run this vertical because there just isn't the room to run it horizontal. The fittings would run into the panhard bar if we ran it this way, and it would run into the fuel tank if we ran it this way. So we'll mount it vertical, not a big deal. These fuel pumps are made to run in any orientation, so that's not a big deal. There are a couple things to think about when you're mounting a fuel pump though. The first is suction line. So these things are really good at pushing fuel. They're absolutely terrible at pulling it. So if you mount your fuel pump up high, all the way out of frame, if you mount it up high, it actually has to suck the fuel up from the bottom of the tank before it even gets to the pump. And that'll lead to fuel starvation in the pump and eventually overheat your pump and blow it up. So you want to mount this as low as possible, so that even here where our fuel outlet from the tank is on the top, if we mount the pump down low, because this tank has a dip tube to the bottom, we'll essentially set up kind of a siphon loop, and hopefully we'll be pressure negative at the inlet of the pump. If that doesn't work, we can always drill a hole right in the side of our fuel cell here and put a bulkhead fitting in there and then pull directly off the bottom. But we're gonna try to use the dip tube first, at least. So that's one, is suction. The other thing is noise and heat. So being an external fuel pump, it's not cooled off by all the fuel around it. An in-tank pump is cooled off by kind of the fuel in there. These have a tendency to overheat. So we need to make sure that we have enough airflow in the back here to cool it off. We might put some louvers here or something to make sure that we get adequate airflow to keep it cool. The other thing is noise. A lot of people moan on the internet about how external fuel pumps are really noisy. They are inherently more noisy. Same thing, they don't have all the fuel around them to dampen out the vibrations. But a lot of those people that are complaining about how noisy their fuel pump are, hard mount their pumps right to the chassis of the car. That just turns the whole car into a big drum for the vibrations and increases the noise. So what we're gonna do is do our best to soft mount this. We're gonna try to build a bracket that'll isolate the pump from the bracket and isolate the bracket from the car. So we'll use some rubber washers and whatnot to do that. That'll hopefully keep the pump fully isolated from the car and cut down on that noise. If it is really noisy, well, we don't have a muffler on the car, so hopefully we just won't hear it once the car's running at least. So that's the plan. Obviously, that's the plan right now. Odds are pretty good that it's gonna change at least once, maybe twice, maybe 17 times before we're done. After we get those mounted, we'll just run the fuel line up kind of along the bottom of the tunnel and then kick it out into the engine bay, and we're done on that front. So that's all we're gonna do this week, you guys. I know we didn't do any fabrication, but you know, sometimes the weekend gets by without it. So that's it for this week. Next week, we'll actually build some bracketry and whatnot. So thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. Go check us out on Instagram, Left Foot First Media, and we'll see you next week. I'm out of here.